Chosen one, this is who you will soon become. And the truth is, even you may not recognize yourself when it happens. Not because you are becoming someone fake, not because you are becoming cold, not because you are losing the real you, but because the version of you that survived by shrinking, explaining, waiting, carrying, and staying silent for too long is finally being outgrown. You were led into this message for a reason. Something higher than fear, higher than confusion, and higher than coincidence is speaking to the part of you that already knows a threshold has opened. You are becoming calmer in places that used to break you. You are becoming quieter around people you used to chase. You are becoming more sensitive to truth, more allergic to chaos, and more aware of the difference between love and access. And at first, this may feel strange. Peace may feel unfamiliar. Confidence may feel dangerous. Silence may feel like you are doing something wrong. Walking away may feel like betrayal. Protecting yourself may feel selfish. But that is only because your nervous system learned survival before it learned safety. So, if you have been feeling different lately, do not rush to judge it. If old conversations feel heavy, if certain people drain you faster than before, if places you once tolerated now feel too loud for your spirit, this message is not here to shame you. It is here to help you understand what is happening. You are not falling apart. You are being separated from the version of you that had to survive what should have never touched you. And before this message is over, you will understand why your old identity feels too small, why your old environment feels too loud, why certain people no longer feel safe to your spirit, and why the person rising inside you is not a stranger. That person is your becoming. So stay with this message until the end, because this is not just about feeling encouraged for a few minutes. You are going to receive language for the shift inside you. You are going to recognize the signs you may have ignored. You are going to understand why the old version of you cannot lead the next season. And most importantly, you are going to see why the person you are becoming may feel unfamiliar at first, but is actually the most truthful version of you that has ever existed. The first thing changing is not your location. It is your tolerance. You may have noticed it already. The same drama that once pulled you in now makes your whole body tired. The same conversations you used to entertain now feel like they are taking something from you. The same energy you once adapted to now feels impossible to sit inside for too long. And maybe you thought something was wrong with you. Maybe you wondered why you no longer have patience for the same things. Maybe you felt guilty because you do not answer as quickly. You do not explain as much. You do not chase the same approval. You do not feel the same need to be understood by people who have shown you again and again that they only understand the version of you they can benefit from. But chosen one, listen carefully. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming aligned. There is a difference between having a bad attitude and having a healed appetite. There is a difference between rejecting people out of bitterness and releasing patterns that keep pulling you away from peace. There is a difference between being cold and no longer volunteering your warmth to places that only know how to consume it. The old you could sit in confusion longer. The old you could keep giving when empty. The old you could laugh through discomfort, answer through exhaustion, and stay available even when your spirit was begging for distance. But something has changed. Now your inner world reacts faster when something is not true. Your peace gets disturbed more quickly when the room is wrong. Your heart notices the difference between connection and control. Your body can feel when someone is not asking for love, but access. That is not weakness. That is discernment waking up. You may feel tired in places you used to feel normal. You may feel quiet around people you used to impress. You may feel no desire to argue, even when you know you could defend yourself. You may feel a strange kind of calm when someone misunderstands you, because a deeper part of you knows that not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. This is one of the clearest signs of becoming. You stop spending your life trying to be translated by people committed to misreading you. You stop begging to be heard in rooms that profit from your silence. You stop mistaking emotional chaos for passion, anxiety for love, and being needed for being valued. At first, this can feel lonely, because when your tolerance changes, your circle starts to look different. Not always because people leave immediately. Sometimes they are still there. They still message. They still talk. They still smile. They still expect the same version of you to show up. But inside, you know something has shifted. You can hear the difference now. You can feel when a conversation is pulling you backward. You can feel when a relationship is asking you to abandon yourself to keep the peace. You can feel when an environment is not evil, but it is too small for where you are being taken. And this is where many chosen ones become afraid. Because you may think, am I becoming arrogant? Am I becoming distant? Am I becoming unloving? Am I changing too much? No, you are simply becoming unable to betray yourself in the same old ways. You are becoming unable to smile while your spirit is suffocating. You are becoming unable to keep saying yes when everything inside you knows the answer is no. You are becoming unable to confuse loyalty with self-abandonment. And that is why the old places feel tighter. That is why the old patterns feel heavier. That is why the old conversations feel shorter. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. But to understand this fully, you have to stop attacking the old version of you. Because the old you was not stupid. The old you was not weak. The old you was not fake. The old you was built in survival. That version of you learned how to keep peace in rooms where honesty was dangerous. That version learned how to read faces before speaking. That version learned how to shrink before being rejected. That version learned how to laugh when tired, give when empty, and stay calm when something inside was breaking. That version deserves compassion. Do not hate the old you for the ways they tried to keep you alive. Do not mock the old you for loving too hard, staying too long, explaining too much, or forgiving before they fully healed. That version did not have all the wisdom you have now. That version was trying to survive with the tools available at the time. And for a season, those tools worked. Over-explaining helped you avoid conflict. People-pleasing helped you feel safe. Staying silent helped you keep access. Saying yes helped you avoid rejection. Carrying everything helped you feel useful. But chosen one, what helped you survive can become the very thing that blocks you from becoming. Because survival teaches you how to endure pain, but becoming teaches you how to stop building your identity around it. Survival teaches you how to stay in the room, but becoming teaches you how to know when the room no longer deserves your presence. Survival teaches you how to keep everyone comfortable, but becoming teaches you that your calling was never meant to be sacrificed on the altar of other people's comfort. And this is the part that may make your spirit pause. The old you got you here, but the old you cannot lead you there. The old you could survive rejection, but the new you must stop living for approval. The old you could endure confusion, but the new you must choose clarity. The old you could keep giving access, but the new you must protect what is sacred. This is why you may feel like something inside you is ending and beginning at the same time. Because it is. There is a quiet funeral happening inside you, not a funeral for your soul, not a funeral for your heart, not a funeral for your light, but a funeral for the identity that pain forced you to wear. The identity that always had to prove. The identity that always had to explain. The identity that always had to make everyone else comfortable. The identity that confused being chosen with being used. That identity is losing power, and I hear it like this in my spirit. I did not form you only to keep you surviving. I did not carry you through the wilderness so you could build a home there. I did not protect your light so you could keep hiding it from people who were never assigned to understand it. Let that settle. You were not protected just to remain hidden forever. You were not strengthened just to keep carrying what was never yours. You were not refined just to return to the same version of life that made you forget who you were. There is a reason you are becoming unfamiliar to yourself. The old self was shaped by what happened to you. The new self is being shaped by what is calling you. The old self knew how to survive pressure. The new self knows how to carry purpose. The old self needed constant confirmation. The new self is learning how to stand in quiet certainty. And this is where the first great misunderstanding happens. You may think the change is about other people. You may think they are different now. You may think they became colder. You may think the world around you shifted. You may think certain spaces suddenly feel strange because something outside you changed first. But the deeper truth is this: your spirit changed first. That is why the same words do not land the same way anymore. That is why the same jokes do not feel harmless anymore. That is why the same patterns do not feel normal anymore. That is why the same access feels too expensive now. It is not just that people changed. Your discernment sharpened. It is not just that places changed. Your capacity expanded. It is not just that relationships changed. Your spirit stopped negotiating with what drains it. This is the chrysalis stage of becoming. And no one inside the chrysalis feels beautiful while the transformation is happening. A caterpillar does not understand wings while its old body is dissolving. It does not look at the darkness and say, "This is easy." It does not feel the breaking down and immediately understand the beauty being formed. It only knows that the old shape is no longer working. And chosen one, that may be exactly where you are. The old shape is no longer working. The old reactions do not fit. The old conversations do not feed you. The old fears do not control you the same way. The old access no longer feels harmless. Something in you is being rearranged in secret, and because you cannot fully see the result yet, fear may try to convince you to return to what is familiar. But do not go back just because the new feels strange. Do not return to the cage because the open air feels unfamiliar. Do not shrink back into a version of yourself that made other people comfortable but made your spirit tired. You are becoming someone. Your old pain cannot easily command anymore, and the next sign of that becoming will be even stronger, because after your tolerance changes, your voice changes. Not just the sound of your voice, the authority behind it, the timing of it, the silence around it, the way you stop speaking from panic and begin speaking from peace, the way you stop explaining to be accepted and start expressing what is true, the way you stop reacting to every pull on your energy and begin choosing what deserves a response. That is where the real separation begins. Because when your voice changes, people who depended on your confusion will notice. When your silence changes, people who relied on your over-explaining will feel it. When your yes changes, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will question it. And when your no becomes peaceful instead of guilty, you will know something deep has shifted. So if this first part has already touched something in you, stay with what is rising. Do not rush past it. Do not explain it away. Do not call it mood, stress, or overthinking when your spirit may be trying to tell you that the old version of you is losing access. The next version of you will speak differently. The next version of you will choose differently. The next version of you will carry authority differently. And that is when you will begin to understand why even you may not recognize yourself. Because the next version of you will not speak from the same place. That is the shift many people will notice before they understand it. Your voice may still sound the same to their ears, but the source of it will be different. It will no longer come from panic. It will no longer come from the fear of being abandoned. It will no longer come from the need to make everyone comfortable so you can feel safe. Your voice is changing because the seat of authority inside you is changing. There was a time when you spoke just to keep peace. You explained because silence felt dangerous. You apologized because tension felt unbearable. You softened the truth because you were afraid that if someone saw the full weight of what you felt, they would leave. But now, something in you is no longer willing to pay for connection with self-betrayal. You may notice it in small ways first. Someone says something that would have pulled you into a long emotional defense, and instead you pause. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand that not every accusation deserves your nervous system. Someone misunderstands you, and the old version of you starts reaching for the familiar script. the long message, the careful explanation, the proof that your heart was pure, the evidence that you meant well. But then something deeper rises in you and says, no, not this time. And that no may be quiet. It may not look dramatic. It may not sound powerful to anyone else. But inside you, it is a throne being restored. Because real authority does not always arrive with volume. Sometimes real authority arrives as a pause. Sometimes it arrives as one honest sentence. Sometimes it arrives as the ability to let someone believe what they want without needing to collapse under the weight of being misread. Chosen one, the next version of you will not need to perform innocence for people who have already decided to accuse you. The next version of you will not keep opening sacred places inside your heart to people who only come looking for something to criticize. The next version of you will not confuse being understood with being safe, because you will learn that some people understand exactly what they are doing, and your explanation was never the missing piece. Your piece was, your boundary was, your willingness to stop auditioning for love was. This is why your voice is changing. You are not becoming rude. You are becoming rooted. You are not becoming harsh. You are becoming honest. You are not becoming silent because you are weak. You are becoming silent because your spirit is finally wise enough to know when words would be wasted. And this is going to shock certain people, not because you attack them, not because you expose them, not because you become cruel, but because the version of you they knew was predictable. They knew how to pull you back into old rhythms. They knew what tone would make you explain. They knew what silence would make you chase. They knew what distance would make you panic. They knew what disappointment would make you abandon yourself. But the person you are becoming will not respond to the same strings. That is when people begin to say, you changed. And chosen one, let them be right. You did change. You changed because survival was not your final assignment. You changed because peace started mattering more than approval. You changed because the cost of staying the same became heavier than the fear of becoming new. But this is also where growth guilt begins. Growth guilt is the ache you feel when you start protecting yourself and someone else feels disappointed by your healing. It is the heaviness that rises when you do not answer the way you used to. It is the strange sadness that comes when you are no longer available for the same emotional demands. It is the question that whispers, am I being selfish? Am I abandoning people? Am I becoming the kind of person I promised I would never become? That guilt can feel heavy. It can make you question your own growth. It can make you want to shrink back into the version of you that everyone understood, because at least that version did not create resistance. At least that version did not make people uncomfortable. At least that version knew how to keep access, even if it came at the cost of inner peace. But listen carefully. Not every person who misses the old you actually loved the real you. Some people miss the access. Some people miss the convenience. Some people miss the version of you that carried the emotional weight, swallowed the hard truth, and made it easy for them to never examine themselves. And that does not mean you hate them. It means you have to stop calling access love. You are allowed to outgrow people without dishonoring them. You are allowed to outgrow places without cursing them. You are allowed to outgrow patterns without explaining every detail of your departure. You are allowed to become less available to chaos. You are allowed to protect what is forming inside you. You are allowed to disappoint expectations that were built around your exhaustion. You are allowed to become someone your old environment does not know how to control. And you do not owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always intended to be. Let that sentence travel through you slowly. You do not owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always intended to be, because the people assigned to your future will not require you to stay wounded so they can recognize you. The people assigned to your future will not demand that you keep bleeding to prove you still care. The people assigned to your future will not call your healing arrogance, your clarity, cruelty, or your boundaries betrayal. They may need time to adjust, yes. They may need to learn the new shape of your presence. but they will not punish you for becoming whole. And this is where another fear may rise. It is not just the fear of losing people, it is the fear of being seen. Because part of you wants the next level, but another part of you wonders what will happen if it actually arrives. What if you step into the room and your voice shakes? What if you finally become visible and people judge you? What if the opportunity comes and you are not ready? What if the blessing is bigger than your current confidence? What if becoming powerful changes you into someone you do not like? Chosen one. That fear is not always a sign that you are weak. Sometimes it is a sign that you understand the weight of what is coming. People who are careless with purpose do not fear responsibility. People who are reckless with influence do not question whether their heart can carry it. People who are hungry for attention at any cost do not pause before being seen, but you pause because you care. You hesitate because you know that visibility carries responsibility. You tremble because somewhere inside you, you understand that the next version of your life cannot be handled with the same habits that managed the old one. So do not shame yourself for being afraid. Bring the fear into the light and let it become wisdom. Fear can become a guardrail when it does not become a prison. Fear can make you careful without making you small. Fear can teach you to move with reverence without convincing you to disappear. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to stop letting fear be the loudest voice in the room. And this is where you need an inner practice, not something dramatic, not something that requires you to stand up, write something down, or change what you are doing right now. This is something you can do inside, quietly, wherever you are. In your mind, I want you to imagine the old version of yourself standing in front of you, not as an enemy, not as something ugly, not as something to be ashamed of. See that version as tired. See them carrying too much. See them trying to keep everyone calm. See them checking the room before speaking. See them holding back tears so no one else feels uncomfortable. See them smiling while something inside is asking for rest. Now, without moving your body, let your spirit speak to that version. Say within yourself, "You helped me survive, but you do not have to lead anymore." Let that be enough. Do not force emotion. Do not search for a perfect feeling. Just let the sentence exist inside you, like a key placed into an old lock. You helped me survive, but you do not have to lead anymore. Now, imagine that old version slowly placing down one heavy thing. Maybe it is the need to explain. Maybe it is the fear of disappointing people. Maybe it is the habit of saying yes while your spirit says no. Maybe it is the belief that love must be earned through exhaustion. Let one thing be placed down. Just one. And as it touches the ground in your imagination, let the new version of you step forward. Not loudly, not dramatically, not to prove anything, just steady. This version does not hate the old you. This version honors them. But this version carries a different assignment. This version speaks from peace. This version chooses with clarity. This version loves without disappearing. This version serves without becoming a sacrifice. This version can be misunderstood without collapsing. This version can be seen without begging. This version can say no and still remain kind. This version can walk away and still remain pure. That is the old self audit, not a list on paper, a separation inside your spirit, a sacred recognition that some parts of you were necessary for survival, but not everything that helped you survive should be allowed to govern your future. You may need to return to that inner picture many times. When guilt rises, remember it. When fear rises, remember it. When someone pulls on the old version of you, remember it. When your hand wants to reach for the same old explanation, remember it. You helped me survive, but you do not have to lead anymore. And if this sentence speaks to you when it is safe and when you feel led, leave this in the comments. I release the old agreement, not for performance, not for attention, but as a small public witness that something inside you is choosing not to be ruled by the old contract anymore. Because many chosen ones are not trapped by enemies. They are trapped by old agreements. An agreement to stay small so others feel tall. An agreement to stay available so others never feel the consequence of their own behavior. An agreement to keep explaining so nobody has to listen deeply. An agreement to carry emotional weight that was never assigned to them. An agreement to call survival normal because peace feels unfamiliar. But those agreements are expiring, and as they expire, your mind may go through a strange transition. You may feel moments of clarity, then moments of fog. Moments of courage, then moments of doubt. Moments where your future feels close, then moments where you feel pulled back into the old heaviness. This does not mean you are failing. It means your inner system is being recalibrated. There is a reason becoming can feel like a battle inside the mind. When you have lived too long in survival, your thoughts can become trained to expect danger. Your focus can become scattered. Your intuition can feel buried under noise. Your inner voice can become faint because fear has been speaking over it for years. And I want you to remember this, because later, this will matter deeply. There is a hidden switch connected to clarity, focus, intuition, and flow. A switch many people lose touch with as life becomes heavier, louder, faster, and more demanding. Some call it a higher state. Some call it deep alignment. Some describe it as the moment when the mind becomes quiet enough for the spirit to lead again. But whatever words you use, you know the feeling. You may remember it from childhood. The time when ideas came easily, when imagination felt alive, when you learned quickly, when your spirit felt closer to wonder, when life had a kind of magic before pressure, rejection, disappointment, and survival taught your mind to stay guarded. Chosen one, that part of you is not dead, it is buried. And in the next part of this message, you will understand why the person you are becoming is not a stranger being created from nothing. The new you is not a mask. The new you is not a performance. The new you is not a personality you copied from someone else. The new you is the original you being restored. The one beneath the fear. The one beneath the over-explaining. The one beneath the old agreements. The one beneath the survival voice that kept saying, be careful, be quiet, be useful, be accepted, be less. That voice protected you for a season, but it cannot carry you into what is coming, because what is coming requires a different authority, a different clarity, a different relationship with peace, a different willingness to be seen. And when that restored version rises, you may not recognize yourself at first, but heaven will, your calling will, your spirit will, and the part of you that has been waiting beneath the weight of survival will finally whisper, there you are. There you are. That is what your spirit has been waiting to hear. Not, there is the version of you that performs. Not, there is the version of you that survives. Not, there is the version of you that keeps everyone comfortable while something inside quietly disappears. There you are, the one beneath the fear, the one beneath the noise, the one beneath the old agreements, the one beneath the survival voice that kept telling you to be smaller, safer, quieter, more useful, more acceptable, less disruptive, less honest, less free. Chosen one. This is the part that changes everything. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming someone pain could no longer hide. That is why the person rising inside you may feel unfamiliar at first. It is not because that person is false. It is because you have spent so long identifying with the version of yourself that was shaped by pressure, shaped by disappointment, shaped by rejection, shaped by the need to survive environments where your full light did not feel safe. But your wounded identity is not your original identity. The version of you that over-explained was not the deepest you. The version of you that begged to be understood was not the deepest you. The version of you that stayed available to people who drained you was not the deepest you. The version of you that called exhaustion love was not the deepest you. Those were protective layers. Those were survival garments. Those were temporary shelters built during storms you should have never had to stand in for that long. But now, the shelter is becoming too small for the person being restored inside it. This is why the old life feels tight. This is why the old language feels limited. This is why the old reactions no longer fit in your mouth. This is why the old fears still visit you, but they do not command you the same way. Something original is waking up, and when something original wakes up, everything artificial begins to lose power. A butterfly does not become a butterfly because someone tapes wings onto a caterpillar. The wings were not an accessory. They were not an outside decoration. They were not a costume. They were encoded inside from the beginning. The transformation only revealed what was already hidden. That is what is happening to you. This becoming is not being added to you from the outside. It is being uncovered from within. It is the return of the part of you that existed before fear trained you to reduce yourself, before you learned to apologize for your sensitivity, before you learned to hide your discernment, before you learned to make your voice smaller so insecure people would not feel challenged, before you learned to call your gift a burden because others did not know how to hold it. There is a word often connected to deep transformation, metamorpho. It speaks of being changed in form, not merely polished on the surface, not a small adjustment, not a better mask, not a cleaner performance. A change that reveals another level of glory, another level of identity, another level of what was always possible beneath the old shape. That is why this season may not feel like simple improvement. It feels deeper than that. You are not just becoming more confident. You are becoming more true. You are not just becoming more peaceful. You are becoming less available to what interrupts peace. You are not just becoming stronger. You are becoming less dependent on the approval of people who never knew what it cost you to keep smiling. And I hear it like this in my spirit. I am not replacing you. I am revealing you. I am not asking you to become a stranger. I am bringing back the one I placed beneath the fear, beneath the grief, beneath the years that tried to convince you your light was too much. Chosen one, that is why even you may not recognize yourself, because you have known your coping self longer than your free self. You have known your guarded self longer than your peaceful self. You have known your overgiving self longer than your restored self. You have known your survival voice longer than your sacred authority. But the unfamiliar does not mean unreal. Sometimes the most unfamiliar version of you is the truest one, because it has never been allowed to breathe before. And as this version rises, your life will begin to reorganize around it. Not all at once, not always loudly, not always in a way other people can immediately understand, but slowly, clearly, unmistakably. 3 areas will begin to shift. Your relationships will begin to reorganize first. This does not mean everyone disappears. It does not mean you cut off every person. It does not mean you become suspicious of love. It means access begins to change. Some people will no longer be able to reach the old door. They will knock with guilt, but something in you will not open the way it used to. They will knock with urgency, but something in you will no longer confuse urgency with assignment. They will knock with disappointment, but something in you will no longer believe that disappointing someone automatically means you have done something wrong. At first, this may hurt. You may feel lonely in the space where old access used to be. You may wonder if you are being too firm. You may miss certain people, even while knowing the old dynamic was draining you. You may grieve the version of a connection you hoped it could become, even while accepting what it truly was. That grief is not a sign to go backward. It is a sign that your heart is honest. Do not force expired connections to behave like divine connections. Do not keep dragging old relationships into new territory if those relationships require the wounded version of you to stay in charge. Do not call it loyalty when your spirit is being slowly emptied. The people assigned to your future will recognize your growth without requiring you to bleed for their comfort. They may not be perfect. They may not always understand immediately, but they will honor the direction of your healing. Your purpose will begin to reorganize next. You may find that scattered desires start becoming clearer. You may feel less interested in proving you can do everything and more drawn toward the one thing that carries weight. You may stop chasing every open door and start discerning which doors actually match your assignment. This is a powerful shift, because the old version of you may have been busy as a way of avoiding stillness, busy proving, busy producing, busy trying to become worthy, busy trying to make up for the years you felt behind. But the new version of you will not confuse movement with alignment. You will begin to sense that not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every invitation is your assignment. Not every open door deserves your energy. Not every person who needs something from you was sent by God. This is where you become more focused. And focus may feel uncomfortable at first, because focus requires you to let some things remain unfinished. Focus requires you to disappoint distractions. Focus requires you to stop using busyness as evidence that you are becoming. Sometimes your next level will not begin with doing more. It will begin with obeying one clear thing, one clear step, one clear boundary, one clear decision, one clear act of courage that your old self would have delayed for months. Your provision and resources will begin to reorganize too. And I want to say this carefully, without hype and without false promises. For many chosen ones, capacity increases before resources arrive. Your inner structure changes before the outer door opens. Your discipline deepens before the opportunity becomes visible. Your ability to steward peace, responsibility, influence, and pressure grows before the next assignment fully appears. That means the blessing may not first show up as more. It may first show up as maturity, more clarity with what you already have, more wisdom in what you say yes to, more discipline with your energy, more courage to stop leaking attention into places that give nothing back, more ability to recognize what is truly valuable. And then, as you become able to carry more, certain doors begin to make sense, not because you forced them, not because you begged for them, not because you became someone fake to access them, but because the person you are becoming can finally steward what the old version of you might have sabotaged out of fear. This is why you must not panic when the inner change comes before the outer evidence. The seed changes before the tree is visible. The foundation is laid before the house rises. The wings form in secret before the butterfly is seen. And your inner world may be changing right now in ways that your outer life has not caught up to yet. That does not mean nothing is happening. It means the deepest work is happening first. And this brings us back to something I told you earlier. There is a hidden switch connected to clarity, focus, intuition, and flow. Because becoming is not only spiritual language, it also touches the mind. It touches the nervous system. It touches the way your thoughts move, the way your focus gathers, the way your inner voice can be heard beneath the noise of survival. When you have lived too long under pressure, your mind can become trained to expect danger. Even when the door opens, your thoughts may look for the trap. Even when peace arrives, your body may question it. Even when your spirit knows the right direction, mental fog can make the next step feel distant. This is why some people pray, but still feel scattered. They want clarity, but the mind feels noisy. They want guidance, but fear keeps interrupting. They want to become the person they know they were born to be, but something inside feels dimmed, like a radio stuck between stations. And this is where the science becomes interesting. There is a state of the brain, often connected to heightened clarity, deep focus, intuition, learning, and creative flow. It is connected to gamma wave activity. Some researchers describe gamma as one of the brain's highest frequency patterns, often present when the mind is processing information with unusual integration and sharpness. And many chosen ones know this feeling, even if they never had a name for it. You may remember it from childhood, that time when ideas came easily, when imagination was alive, when you learned fast, when you felt more connected, more curious, more open, more magical. Then life became heavier. Expectations grew. Pressure increased. Rejection happened. Survival took over. And slowly, the clear signal became covered by static. You did not become less gifted. The signal became buried. That is why I want to mention something gently here, only for those who feel led to explore it. There is a 7-minute audio track called The Genius Song, created around the principle of brain entrainment and gamma wave activation. It is designed to be listened to with headphones, as a simple daily audio ritual, not as a replacement for wisdom, faith, discipline, healing, or action, but as a tool that may help support the mind in returning to a clearer state. And I want to be honest with you, this is not magic. This is not a promise that your life changes without your participation. This is not a way to avoid doing the inner work, but for the chosen one who feels like their focus, intuition, and inner sharpness have been buried under years of pressure, it may become a meaningful support. There was a teacher in Texas, 43 years old, who had spent years helping other people grow, while feeling like her own mind was running at a fraction of its true capacity. She described it like living with ideas trapped behind a fog. After using the 7-minute audio ritual for several weeks, she said decisions she had delayed for a year began to feel clear, and ideas started coming naturally again. That is not here as a guarantee. It is here as a picture of what many chosen ones are truly longing for. Not just more motivation, access. Access to the part of the mind that used to feel alive. Access to clarity. Access to the inner signal beneath the static. Normally, tools and therapies connected to brainwave training can be expensive. Some forms of biofeedback can cost hundreds of dollars per hour. Home devices can cost thousands. Even traditional practices that help calm and train the mind can require months of consistency before many people feel stable results. The Genius Song was created as a simpler audio tool, compressed into a 7-minute track you can use at home. The original price is $49, but through the link connected to this message, it is currently available for $39. Along with it, there are 4 bonuses included. Genius Child, a classic book connected to the roots of prosperity thinking, a guided visualization for your ideal life, and an infographic with 5 habits to help support the future you are building. And there is a money-back guarantee, so if you explore it and do not feel it is right for you, you can request your money back. I also need to say this clearly, because it matters. There are fake versions and copycat pages online using the name of The Genius Song. Some are just ordinary audio with no real brain entrainment technology behind them. So, if you decide to explore it, do not search randomly on Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, or other places. The safest way is through the link placed in the description and the pinned comment, so you can receive the original audio, the bonuses, and the guarantee. If your spirit does not feel drawn to it, let it pass. But if something in you feels that this is one of the tools placed in front of you for this season, then investigate it with peace, not pressure. Because the real message is still this: your clarity matters, your mind matters, your inner signal matters. The person you are becoming cannot be led by the static that survival created. You are being called back to the clear place, the steady place, the place beneath the noise. And now, before this message closes, I want to guide you through a quiet inner action. You do not need to move your body. You do not need to write anything down. You do not need to close your eyes, especially if you are driving or doing something that needs your attention. Let this happen inside you, gently, while you remain fully aware and safe. Imagine there are 2 mirrors inside your spirit. The first mirror shows the version of you that was built by survival. See that version without judgment. See the one who kept explaining, the one who kept shrinking, the one who stayed too long, the one who carried too much, the one who smiled through pain, the one who kept trying to earn peace from people who were never going to give it. Do not hate that version. Honor that version. That version brought you this far. Now, imagine a second mirror beside it. This mirror does not show a fantasy. It does not show a perfect person. It does not show someone who never struggles. It shows the restored you, the you who speaks from peace, the you who chooses with clarity, the you who can be kind without being controlled, the you who can love without disappearing, the you who can be seen without begging, the you who can say no without turning your heart into stone, the you who can carry purpose without performing for approval. Now, inside your spirit, turn your attention from the first mirror to the second, not with hatred, with release, and say within yourself, I honor who I had to be, but I choose who I am becoming. Let that sentence settle. I honor who I had to be, but I choose who I am becoming. That is the separation, not rejection. Separation, not shame. Freedom, not pretending the past did not happen. Refusing to let the past continue naming you. Now, imagine the first mirror becoming smaller, not destroyed, just no longer in charge. It becomes a memory, a teacher, a witness. And the second mirror becomes clearer. The restored version of you steps closer. You do not have to force the image. Just receive the meaning. The old you got you here. The becoming will carry you forward. And if this message has spoken to the deepest part of you, when it is safe and when you feel led, leave this in the comments. I am becoming who I was always meant to be. Not as performance, not as a slogan, as a witness. Because something powerful happens when the mouth agrees with the spirit. And even if you never type it, let your inner world say it. I am becoming who I was always meant to be. Chosen one, you are not losing yourself. You are losing the costume your pain made you wear. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming protected. You are not becoming arrogant. You are becoming rooted. You are not becoming unrecognizable because something false has entered you. You are becoming unrecognizable because the false weight is leaving. The fear is leaving. The old agreement is leaving. The need to be chosen by people who cannot see you is leaving. The habit of abandoning yourself to keep connection is leaving. The belief that peace must be earned through suffering is leaving. And what remains will surprise you. A quieter strength, a deeper authority, a clearer voice, a cleaner love, a sharper discernment, a steadier walk, a presence that does not need to announce itself to be felt. You will walk into rooms differently, not because you are trying to impress anyone, because you are no longer begging the room to tell you who you are. You will love differently, not with less heart, but with more wisdom. You will work differently, not from panic, but from purpose. You will wait differently, not as someone forgotten, but as someone being prepared. You will be seen differently, not by everyone, and not always immediately, but by the people, places, and assignments that are truly aligned with the restored version of you. And yes, some people may not recognize you. They may say you changed. They may say you are not the same. They may miss the version of you that was easier to access, easier to influence, easier to interrupt, easier to drain. Let them notice. Let them wonder. Let them adjust. Let them misunderstand if they must. Your assignment is not to remain recognizable to every person who benefited from your survival. Your assignment is to become faithful to the truth being restored inside you. So receive this closing over your life. May the old fear lose its voice. May the old guilt lose its grip. May the old agreements lose their authority. May the places that only loved your wounded version lose the power to define you. May your discernment become clear without making your heart hard. May your peace become strong without making your love cold. May your voice become steady without needing to become loud. May your boundaries become firm without needing to become cruel. May your spirit recognize the difference between what is familiar and what is assigned. And may the person you are becoming rise with grace, wisdom, courage, and holy clarity. You are the light bearer who learned to shine without apologizing. You are the cycle breaker who learned that love does not require self-destruction. You are the seer who learned to trust what your spirit has been sensing all along. You are the wounded healer who learned that pain can become medicine when it is surrendered, not worshipped. You are the pioneer who walks into unfamiliar territory, so others can one day believe it is possible. And you are not late. You are not behind. You are not too damaged. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You are not too different. You are not too much. You are becoming. And one day soon, you may look at yourself and feel the truth of this message in your bones. You may notice that the things that used to control you no longer move you the same way. You may notice that your silence feels peaceful instead of fearful. You may notice that your no feels clean instead of guilty. You may notice that your yes comes from truth instead of pressure. You may notice that you are no longer asking everyone for permission to exist. And in that moment, you may not recognize yourself at first. But do not be afraid. That unfamiliar peace is you. That unfamiliar strength is you. That unfamiliar clarity is you. That unfamiliar authority is you. That unfamiliar freedom is you without the chains. So keep going. Let the old version rest. Let the new version rise. Let what is false fall away. Let what is true come forward. The becoming has already begun. And this time, you are not going back.